A Southlake woman made her first appearance in a federal court in Fort Worth, charged for her alleged role in a sex trafficking scheme.
The feds say she helped facilitate so-called sex dungeon encounters for wealthy New York financier. And she was paid millions for her service, is the claim. Fox 4's David Sentendry reports.
Well, the story, front page news, as the criminal complaint alleges that for at least 10 years, from 2009 through 2019, that Wall Street financier Howard Rubin, who's reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars, allegedly recruited dozens of women to engage in prostitution. And federal prosecutors say for most of that time, Jennifer Powers, Rubin's assistant, facilitated the encounters. Allegations are Rubin brutalized women's bodies, causing them to fear for their safety, resulting in significant pain or injuries. Rubin and Powers allegedly transformed a bedroom in Rubin's New York City penthouse into a sex dungeon full of torture devices, at least one used to shock or electrocute women. The two allegedly targeted former Playboy models, Rubin allegedly giving them a safe word to use, but then ultimately not abiding by that safe word. Federal investigators say Rubin and Powers spent at least $1 million of Rubin's money operating and maintaining the trafficking network. Rubin reportedly spent $8 million on his assistant during a 5-year period, including mortgage payments on her home in Southlake. We received a tip that she was a substitute teacher in Carroll ISD, but while Carroll ISD does not deny that claim, it says there is no connection between the allegations and any activity within CISD. In 2017, Rubin and Powers were sued by some of these women. A jury found at trial only Rubin was liable and awarded the women nearly $4 million. Rubin currently appealing the decision. I spoke with a former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Richard Roper, about the time gap and how federal prosecutors might use the assistant against Rubin.
Why did it take so long to bring these charges? It could be that the alleged victims wanted their day in court in the civil arena to be able to collect damages before the criminal case. The prosecution would consider offering Powers a better deal to convince her to flip on Rubin. That's a tried and true tactic of federal prosecutors.
Powers was granted bond in federal court in Fort Worth Monday and has to appear in New York Wednesday. Rubin, labeled as a flight risk, not given the option for bond at this time. Rubin and Powers, if convicted, each face a minimum of 15 years in federal prison. We'll keep our eyes on it, but for now, reporting, David Sentendry, Fox 4 News.
Yes, Brandon, we know at least 9 suspects accused of ambushing an ICE facility will appear here in court this morning for a hearing. There's more than a dozen people charged in the July 4th shooting at the Prairieland Immigration Detention Center, according to the federal complaint. Several of the defendants were dressed in black military-style clothing and started shooting fireworks at the facility. Documents state 2 people broke off from the main group and sprayed graffiti on vehicles and a guard structure. ICE detention officers called 911 to report vandalism. Now, an Alvarado police officer arrived, and authorities say they were shot in the neck by one of the suspects. That officer survived the gunshot wound. For weeks, the list of suspects accused of being involved in the attack grew. Today, at least 9 of the more than a dozen will face a judge. Most of the group is from North Texas. Last week, 6 of the defendants were arraigned. Their supporters claim they were under the impression they were going to a peaceful protest. Now, we will update you once those defendants appear in court this morning. We're expecting that hearing to begin at around 9 a.m. Reporting live in Fort Worth, I'm Peyton May for Good Day.
All right, for the first time, we are hearing from a Fort Worth firefighter who nearly lost his life on the job.
The Engine 11 crew was returning to the station this month when he stopped for a house fire on William Street in the historic South Side neighborhood of Fort Worth. As they fought flames in the home, the garage roof collapsed, trapping one of the firefighters. Today, he shares his firsthand account in an exclusive interview with Fox 4's Hannah Batal.
It's early September in Fort Worth, and local firefighters have spotted smoke billowing above an empty home. Immediately, they jump in to do what they are trained to do.
When you put on all the gear, like, you feel like a superhero and you feel invincible.
Three-year veteran Caleb Halvorson and his crew worked piece by piece to knock out the flames, quickly making ground when the call for a one-alarm fire turned into a mayday call.
I just remember I'm spraying upwards, and I look straight, and this whole thing just smushed me.
Unable to reach for his radio, he is pinned down, on fire, and feeling helpless.
And so right then I was like, this is it, I was like, I'm gonna die.
A minute and 45 seconds later, fellow firefighters are able to pull him out of the burning debris, and Halvorson is airlifted to Parkland Hospital.
I remember my butt and my back were just on fire, and I couldn't straighten my knee. I knew my knee was blown out, but I couldn't straighten it, and they cut off my bunker pants, and they said my kneecap was on the backside of my knee. And
Weeks later, Halvorson, now surrounded by family, is slowly making strides. He's undergone 3 surgeries for ligament tears and burn injuries. But even with the screws in his injured leg, he's been able to stand up with the help of a walker and with the encouragement from his stepdad, Bobby Cook, who also happens to be a Fort Worth firefighter.
The main thing that we're doing right now with him is just setting small goals.
The full extent of his injuries still unknown until he can recover enough to do further testing. But while Halvorson sits in this burn unit, his mind is on what's happening in a different unit at a different hospital altogether. His son Hudson, born 13 weeks early at 1 pound 9 ounces, is still in the NICU.
it's tough. I miss the little guy. He's going to look so different now, and I'm so excited. And he got, I've never seen him without, he was always had oxygen going through his nose.
The new father, more motivated than ever to get back to his old life with a brand new perspective.
I'll get home someday and with my wife, and my son will get home someday. So I'm very excited about it. But, it's going to be a long journey, long process, lots of physical therapy, a lot more surgeries. But yeah, just one day at a time. I've been saying that the whole time I've been here. So.
Well, the firefighter who rescued Halvorson, Lieutenant Troy Gallagher, was treated at the hospital for minor injuries. He has since recovered. And Stephen, Heather, as heartbreaking as this entire ordeal has been for the Halvorson family, they say, you know what, it has actually restored their faith in humanity. Halvorson's wife told me, as strange as it is, seeing the outpouring of support and love they've received from the community, even an association that created an online fundraiser for them, has already raised more than $160,000. They've just felt this overwhelming sense of support and love from everyone, and are so grateful for that.
And now that they'll see those little tiny pictures of
Oh my gosh, those pictures.
more support. Gotta be coming.
How is the baby? How's Hudson?
Well, Hudson is now on day 101 in the NICU. I mean, you saw how little he was there. He has grown a ton. Dad, as you heard, mentioned that he's now breathing on his own. That was a major hurdle he had to clear. The next one is being able to eat on his own. So once that happens, I'm told he'll then be able to go home, hopefully around the same time as Dad, and then they can all be together
But
again.
like Dad said, one day at a time, and they'll
Day
get
at a
through it.
time. Yes.
All right. Thanks for bringing us the story, Hannah.
Thank you, guys.
Well, the Texas Rangers are parting ways with manager Bruce Bochy after 3 years on the job.
Yes, this move reportedly a mutual decision between both parties. Dan Godwin joins us in the studio with the details. We say a mutual decision, but I had to feel, if they would have won and had a great season, I have a feeling he would have been sticking around. So
Probably.
But I think this is the nice way to do it. So we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah. I did not see this coming. But I'm not exactly a Rangers insider, but I was like, wow. Yeah. It is worth remembering that Bruce Bochy is considered pretty much a lock for the Hall of Fame as a manager, one of the best ever, ranking 8th on the all-time wins list. And he was popular with Rangers fans, but the team just completed a disappointing season with a record of 81 wins, 81 losses. They missed the playoffs for the second time in Bochy's 3 years as manager. The Rangers call Bochy's departure a mutual decision. The team's president of baseball operations yesterday talking about changes to the roster next year and a shrinking payroll for players.
you know, in 2023, when we went to Boch, I think we had a little more clarity as to what the vision was and where things stood, and a little more certainty in terms of payroll. And you know, we don't have that at this point. We are probably going to be a little bit of a younger team next year. There's no doubt about it. There is going to be player development that continues at the big league level, and I think those are going to be important aspects of whomever we select as our next manager.
The Rangers say Bochy was offered a front office advisory role with the team. It's unclear if he accepted. The San Francisco Giants fired their manager yesterday, and the 70-year-old Bochy is being mentioned as a possible candidate for that position. He previously helped the Giants win 3 World Series. The Rangers posting to X, thanking Bochy for his leadership over the past 3 seasons. They thank, quote, the man who led us to our first World Series championship. There you see the images of Boch during that magical 2023 postseason run when the Rangers ended up winning it all. As for who will be the next manager, the name that's going around is Skip Schumacher. He was the National League Manager of the Year in 2023 and currently works for the Rangers as a senior advisor. Chris Young saying Schumacher will be a candidate, but says the team has not had any conversations yet about the search process. But you got to figure.
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, right.
I feel like, why are we holding this guy in our back pocket? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he does step into that spot, or if they go look for someone else.
There you go.
I don't know. But definitely Bruce will be missed.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right.